Midnight, June 9th, 1969. Niagara Falls, New York State. A line of dump trucks is backing toward the upper Niagara River, 40 feet from where 60,000 gallons of water per second are tearing past Goat Island into a 170-foot drop. The drivers can feel the spray hitting the windshield. They can hear the roar through the cab walls, and they are dumping rock straight into it. The contract said 3 days, 30 men, 2 11-hour shifts per day. Build an earth dam 600 feet across the most powerful waterfall in North America, or the entire 5-month study dies before it starts. The company that signed that contract was not the Army Corps of Engineers. It was Albert Elia Construction Company, a family firm from right here in Niagara Falls that had been pouring concrete and moving earth since 1917. And their plan was the simplest thing anyone had ever heard. Push dirt into the river faster than the river can wash it away. Their dewatering superintendent, a man named Pat Stoutemeyer, told his crew exactly what was going to happen. They would start from both shores and squeeze the channel shut, truck by truck, load by load, until the water had nowhere left to go but over the Canadian side. A helicopter had already strung a lifeline across the river in case anyone went in, because at this distance from the crest, if you went in, you were not coming back. The crews started dumping at the stroke of midnight. End dump trucks backed up to the advancing toe of the earth wedge, dropped their loads, and bulldozers pushed the fill sideways into the current. The river fought back. It scoured material off the downstream face as fast as the crews could pile it on the upstream side. Every load that went in was a race. If the truck slowed down, the river would start flanking the toe. If the river flanked the toe, the whole dam would unravel from the inside. They did not slow down. 1,264 truckloads, 27,800 tons of rock and earth. 30 men, rotating through 2 shifts, working through 3 nights straight. At 2:40 in the morning on June 12, 1969, the channel closed. The roar faded, and for the first time in roughly 12,000 years, the American Falls went quiet. Lieutenant Phil Guido, an Army Corps officer who had been brought onto the project because he happened to be a licensed Niagara tour guide before he joined the military, explained the engineering to reporters as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. The Romans used to build cofferdams thousands of years ago, he told them. Basically, you just keep putting stone and dirt to head off the channel. He made it sound easy. It was not. Now here is where every other video about this project jumps straight to the bodies and the coins. We are not going to do that, because the real discovery was not on the riverbed. It was inside the cliff. If you want to see what the Army Corps actually found when they drilled into the most famous waterfall in North America, and why it should have made front-page news, hit like and subscribe. Colonel Amos Wright, the Buffalo District Commander, had told reporters at the start that his geologists were in a dream world. They had the chance to study the naked face of Niagara Falls for the first time in recorded history. But the dream turned into something closer to a nightmare. The Army drilled 46 core borings into the cliff face and riverbed, a total of 4,882 feet of rock. They pushed drill strings 320 feet straight down from the brink near Prospect Point. They punched horizontal holes 100 feet deep into the exposed face. And what they found changed everything the engineers thought they knew about these falls. The cliff Aswa, not solid rock. It is 2 layers. The top 80 feet are Lockport dolomite, a hard capstone that looks and feels like it could stand forever. But underneath that capstone sits 60 feet of Rochester shale. Soft, crumbly, the kind of rock that disintegrates after about 10 wet and dry cycles. Water seeps into the joints of the dolomite, freezes in winter, expands, and levers the blocks apart. The shale underneath erodes out from under the capstone, and eventually, massive slabs of dolomite crack off and crash to the base. That pile of broken rock at the bottom, the one that made the falls look ugly, the one the whole project was designed to clean up, turned out to be the only thing holding the cliff together. The talus was a buttress. Remove it, and you accelerate the collapse. The Army's own engineers proved this with dye tests, piezometers measuring water pressure inside the joints, and extensometers tracking rock movement down to 1/100th of an inch. The rubble was not the problem. The rubble was the solution. By 1975, after years of study and public comment, the International Joint Commission made their recommendation. Do nothing. Leave the talus where it sits. Leave the falls exactly as they are. The entire project, the Cofferdam, the drilling, 5 months of dry riverbed, roughly $1.5 million, all of it led to a conclusion that could fit in 2 words. If you are watching this far into a video about how they shut off Niagara Falls and found out the cliff was eating itself from the inside, you are our kind of viewer. Hit subscribe. We cover the construction stories that nobody else tells. Now, about those bodies. Yes, they were real. On June 11th, 1969, 3 witnesses watched a man in a green plaid shirt walk to the brink of the dry channel and jump. He was 20 to 25 years old. While Niagara Frontier State Parks police searched for him, Sergeant Dominic Conti and Patrolman Ronald Tobin, James McNeil, and James Gizzarelli found the decomposed remains of an unidentified woman jammed headfirst into the rocks about halfway up the talus bank. The man's body was recovered the next day. Neither person was ever publicly identified. And the coins? Every video about this project says millions of coins were found on the riverbed. We checked. No Army Corps report, no State Parks document, and no contemporaneous Niagara Gazette article gives a coin count or a dollar total. Coins were visible on the rock. Tourists tried to scramble out and grab them. Police set up a perimeter to stop people from looting the dry riverbed. But the phrase "millions of coins" is a number that first appeared in a magazine article almost 50 years after the fact. No primary source supports it. What the engineers actually did before they left tells you more about the cliff than anybody on the riverbed ever could. They removed unstable blocks from the cliff face. They stapled sections of the dolomite together with cement, bolts, cables, and tendons. And they drilled 7 monitoring holes straight down through the flanks of the falls and installed strain wire anchors connected to an alarm system that could detect rock movement before a collapse. Ken Vogt, one of the Army Corps geologists who worked on the final phase of the project, described those sensors in an interview in 2025. He drilled the holes himself, 7 anchors per hole, wired to a lever at the surface that measured any change in strain. The system was supposed to provide early warning if the cliff started to move. Those sensors are no longer in service. Nobody we could find monitors the American Falls cliff face today. On the morning of November 25, 1969, the show was over. The Albert Alia crew was ready to take the Cofferdam apart. And almost every account of what happened next gets it wrong. The dam was not blown up with dynamite. That detail appears in Wikipedia and a dozen secondary sources, but the engineering record is clear. A dragline operator positioned on the dam took the first scoop of fill out of the structure at 10:05 that morning, after an 11-year-old boy from Lockport, New York, named David Kennis, pulled a horn cord at a small ceremony. The first breach opened 30 feet from the Goat Island shore. Murky water started pushing through at 10:43. By the following afternoon, full flow had returned. About 2,600 spectators watched. Bud Sinnott, a Corps surveyor who had spent months crawling across the dry riverbed, summed up the whole project in one sentence. He said, We got to crawl underneath all that stuff where nobody has ever been there before, and maybe never will be again. But here is the part of this story that connects 1969 to something much bigger, and nobody in any video has ever mentioned it. Albert Elia Construction Company, the family firm from Niagara Falls that pushed the Cofferdam across the river, changed its name twice after the project. In 1982, the third generation renamed it Sevenson Construction. In 1988, it became Sevenson Environmental Services, and in 1979, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation awarded that same company the contract to build the first permanent treatment facility at a place called Love Canal. The same firm that turned off Niagara Falls turned out to be the firm that contained one of the most notorious toxic waste disasters in American history. The same family, in the same town, running the same kind of iron they had been running since 1917. As for the falls, they are still standing. The talus is still piling up. The dolomite is still cracking. The current erosion rate on the American Falls is about 3 to 4 inches per decade, which means the cliff has barely moved since 1969. The pile of rubble is still doing its job. And the 2 bridges from 1901 that carry tourists out to Goat Island? They are still standing too, still wearing the temporary steel trusses that were bolted on in 2004. New York State has spent the last decade planning to replace them. The estimated cost is $45 million to $60 million. As of today, not a single dollar of construction funding has been approved. And the original plan to dewater the falls for the replacement has been quietly scrapped in favor of smaller, localized cofferdams that will not shut off the waterfall. So the next time someone tells you they turned off Niagara Falls and found horrifying things on the bottom, you can tell them what actually happened. 30 men from a family construction company pushed an earth dam across the river in 3 days. The army drilled into the cliff and found out it was falling apart from the inside. They spent 5 months studying the problem, and the answer was to leave it alone. The sensors they installed are dead. The bridges they need to fix are unfunded, and the contractor who built the Cofferdam went on to clean up Love Canal. If you want to see more stories like this, the ones where we pull the engineering records and check what actually happened, hit subscribe and check out this video right here. And drop a comment. Did you know the Cofferdam was built by a local family firm and not the Army Corps? Because we sure didn't, until we found the contract.